Hello viewers, here is a Panasonic DECT 6 Plus telephone. This is the Panasonic model number 4031. Takes the 6.5 volts DC in. This is a pretty nostalgic phone to me. I bought one of these new back in the day when they first came out. It was, I want to say, fall of 2012, I think, when 6 Plus first came onto the scene. And at the time, landline phones were starting to phase out, but they were very much still in service, still pretty commonplace. And when these came out, the big marketing for them was the extended range of 6 Plus over the regular DECT 6 phones. At the time, this was before I had really started collecting a lot of phones. I didn't have a 900 megahertz spread spectrum yet. And so a phone that had more range was always an item of interest to me. And so when this came out and it said it gets more range, I had to have one. And the performance of these was not bad. It did not come close to the old 900 megahertz spread spectrum units. I don't think anything ever will, which I don't quite understand why we can't make a cordless phone to go as far as they used to. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, this offered a pretty good coverage outside in the yard. It was a little bit better than the Uniden 1580, which is what I was using at the time, in conjunction with, I think, the XCA650 and maybe the EXP370. I might have had the, actually I'm pretty sure I did have the VTech 6763s at the time. So I had a few phones, but nothing crazy. My phone collection was still pretty small enough that getting another set was a big deal. And so I remember I got these. I got the set of 3 with the range extender. And I had set the range extender up in the dining room. And because that was the best area for line of sight down the driveway and across the yard. And it didn't give 100% coverage of the yard, but it did give a pretty good coverage outside in the yard. I think it was the best option compared to any of the other phones that I had. And I remember working on these quite a bit. These were what I would consider to be some of the last really good phones that Panasonic made. The maybe early to mid 2010s produced some of the last really good Panasonic phones. After that, they just kind of went downhill in quality. And even these were not as good as the DECT 6 models as far as quality goes. There's definitely some elements of these that are kind of cheap. I think the speakerphone sounds kind of tinny and crackly compared to some of the other models that they made before. One of the things that they did improve with these DECT 6 Plus phones was the batteries, or the battery usage rather. With the exception of the 1031S, pretty much every DECT 6 Panasonic phone I've used has terrible battery longevity, both per charge and overall lifetime of the battery. These will still run out pretty fast if you're towards the end of the range. But if you're in near proximity of the base, they last quite a while. You get quite a few hours out of them. Of course, I often was not near the base, and so I would experience the charge running out after just 2 or 3 hours. I think they're only rated up to 3 hours if it's on boost, and then if you're using speakerphone, of course, it's going to be quite a bit less. So, limited battery life per charge, but the good thing is as the battery's aged, the talk time would just get shorter. It didn't so much become unreliable like a lot of the 5.8 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, and regular DECT 6 models from Panasonic did. And it's about time that they got that together, because it was years and years of substantial battery issues from them. Anyways, so not bad phones. One of the things I like about this phone is that all the buttons are backlit, even the talk and the off and the speakerphone buttons. And that, for whatever reason, even though it seems like it should be common sense, that is a very rare occurrence. And on more phones than not, including other Panasonic models, the talk buttons are not backlit. Which is, there's definitely some irony to it too, because out of all the buttons on the phone, the numerics are always backlit, yet those are the only thing that's standard across any phone that you go to use. So, anyways, I was thinking the other day, when I leave this location, which is in the works, I won't have a landline here anymore. I'll probably leave a cell to jack here, and I'm trying to figure out what telephone I ought to leave here. And this one is definitely on the list. Either this one or one of the waterproof Unitons, probably one of those two. So, this has the old ringer on the base, and I believe it has the old voice still.
No, not really.
It does. But unfortunately, it does have the newer set of ringers on the handset rather. And curiously enough, a lot of the newer Panasonic phones, like the ones currently in production, some of them have a ringer that's very close to the classic ringer, which is kind of odd, because why would they all of a sudden go back to it? I can't imagine somebody at Panasonic sits there and watches these videos and hears me complain about it and sees all the comments about it. I mean, it's not inconceivable, but I highly doubt it. Anyways, let's go ahead and call this thing up. Well, first we gotta plug it in. Alright, let's go ahead and call this up. I'm pretty sure these do have the speaking caller ID. Yeah, it does. It says it right there. That was another one of the things that I remember when I first got these phones. This was the first set I ever had with the talking caller ID. And we need to figure out why it's not on. It's not on anywhere. Buttons need to be cleaned out on this thing. Now, there's a lot of entries in the caller ID, I mean in the directory. They're all from the previous users, so I need to get these out of here. This at least has the function to erase them all. A lot of them don't have that function for some reason. I would think that should be standard. So whole bunch of caller ID in here too. It's got a lot of calls. A lot of calls per day, like looks like 10 or more. Yeah, about 10 to 15 calls a day. Wow. Alright, let's delete all these out of here. Okay, and let me delete the redial too before that gets in there. Looks like the redials are all out of the phone book because they got the name attached to them. Okay, so let's add a phone book entry here. Okay. Ah, jeez. Why does it keep jumping around like that? Oh, there should be a space. There we go. This needs some serious work on the buttons. The rubber buttons are nice, but the longevity of them is just not the same as the plastic ones.
Call from Greenwich. Call from Greenwich. Call from Greenwich.
I don't think it's quite the same voice as was on the old DECT 6 phones. I think it's slightly different. You can hardly even hear that thing ringing. It's as loud as it goes.
Call from the video camera. Call from the video camera.
Okay, so looks like it rings correctly. Let's see what other ringers we have on here. You know what's odd is that it stays clear at full volume on the ringer, but it distorts on a call. I used to use the alarm clock on this thing for a while, and I think I had Melody 1 as the alarm sound. Alright, let's go to the answering machine here. And let's see what we got here.
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
Okay, so it's still got the old voice on the answering machine.
Answer set.
Okay, so that's set up now. And we have the indicator illuminated. So let's call this up and record a message. Excuse the delay, there was a cord in the way.
Call from the video camera. 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 Call from the video camera.
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
Testing, the 1, 2, 3. This is a test of the Panasonic answering machine with the default greeting with the old voice playing. Over and out. Okay, let's see what our playback quality is on the answering machine base. There's the message indicator.
One, new message.
Testing, the 1, 2, 3. This is a test of the Panasonic answering machine with the default greeting with the old voice playing. Over and out.
Thursday, 12:09 a.m. End of final message. 1, new message. To erase all messages, press erase again. No message.
So even this speaker is kind of crackly when playing the voice, and I don't find that it's all that loud. But yet with the ringer it's clear. It's very strange to me. Okay, now let's record a greeting into the answering machine.
Record greeting after the beep.
Hello, record a message, goodbye.
Hello, record a message, goodbye.
That was kind of quiet. Oh, I'll try again and I'll speak closer.
Record greeting after the beep.
Hello, why don't you answer your phone? Record a message or I'm never gonna call you again. Over and out.
Hello, why don't you answer your phone? Record a message or I'm never going to call you again. Over and out.
Okay, that seems to be much louder now. So let's call again.
the video camera. Call from the video camera.
Not good.
Call from the video camera. Call from the video camera. Call from the video camera.
Hello? Why don't you answer your phone? Record a message or I'm never going to call you again. Over and out.
Hello, it's Frank. I hope you have a nice day today. Goodbye. Okay, now let's play back from the handset.
New message. Playback. 1. New message.
Hello, it's Frank. I hope you have a nice day today. Goodbye.
End of final message.
The recording quality is really subpar on these phones. It's not good at all. And for the price that these cost when they were new, it should have been better recording quality. Okay. Let's see here, we should have a locator. You can't interface with that because there's no microphone on the base. Alright, let's make some testing calls here. Quality line quality testing cold line. I just forgot what the phone number was. 651.
Fishing in a mountain stream is my idea of a good time.
After the dance, they went straight home. The hostess taught the new maid to serve.
Adding fast leads to wrong sums. The show was a flop from the very start.
There was water in the cellar after the heavy rain. They're not listed in the new phone book.
A large size in stockings is hard to sell. The juice of lemons makes fine punch.
Smoke poured out of every crack. Serve the hot rum to the tired heroes.
Those words were the cue for the actor to leave. A yacht slid around the point into the bay.
The place seems dull and quite stupid. Thieves who rob friends deserve jail.
The frosty air passed through the coat. The crooked maze failed to fool the mouse.
He wrote the last novel there.
I don't think it's the greatest quality. It seems to lack a lot of the sibilants and the clarities of the consonants, especially on the male voices. The female voices were a little bit clearer to me. Alright, so now we'll check the earpiece here.
Dogs were fed chopped corn and garbage.
Much of the story makes good sense. The sun came up to light the eastern sky.
The two met while playing on the sand. The ink stain dried on the finished page.
The ripe taste of cheese improves with age. Act on these orders with great speed.
Adding fast leads to wrong sums. The show was a flop from the very start.
The cement had dried when he moved it. The loss of the second ship was hard to take.
March the soldiers past the next hill.
Not bad on the earpiece. I don't think it has quite a rich, true tone to it as some other phones do, but it's pretty clear. Overall, I would say the audio quality is only average, which again is a bit disappointing considering what these phones cost when they were new. Okay, now I'll record some testing messages so we can hear what the transmit quality and the pickup is like.
2 new messages and 8 old messages. Message 1.
Hello, hello. 1, 2, 3. This is the first official testing message with this Panasonic cordless telephone. It had an awful lot of side tone when the call first started out, a lot more than I would expect. But now it seems to have gone away, and there's really none at all to speak of. So right now the telephone is in the eco mode, and I'm going to exit the studio now and traverse across the room. I'm going to keep watching the screen here so I can see it just dropped off in eco mode, and that was like maybe 25 or 30 feet away with one wall in between. Okay, so now I am just about all the way across the room now, and as far as I can go inside the house, and it's not on boost yet, it's just on regular talking mode. Okay, so if it's still getting a good reception there, then everything is fine. One of the things I like about these DECT 6 Plus phones is that the reception, or the pickup of my voice, which would be the outgoing audio, is typically pretty sensitive, and you don't have to shout into these phones. Okay, I'm going to hang up with the button now, and I'll call back and do the speakerphone test, and then I'll hang up into the base.
Message 2.
And now the recording of the second official testing message has begun. This is on talk right now. I'll go ahead and switch it to the speakerphone. Okay, it's on a speakerphone, and so this will give us a good comparison of the audio quality and the volume of the pickup on talk versus on speakerphone. Okay, so now I'm going to put the phone down on the table. It's on, and it just fell over. Great. Stand up. Okay, it's standing up now, although it really doesn't seem to want to. I'm speaking about 1 foot over the telephone with it standing up on the table. I'm going to start going back away from the telephone now. This is about 2 feet away from the telephone, 3 feet away from the telephone, and this is about 4 feet away from the telephone. And I would really like it to still be working at a pretty good pickup volume here at this distance. I think this is still within a reasonable distance to use the telephone from. Okay, now I'll start keep going back further. This is about 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, and this is 11 feet, which is all the way across the room. And while I don't necessarily think it's going to be super clear, I do think it'll pick up at this distance, because I find that the pickup on these phones is generally pretty good. Okay, so I'll switch back to talk, then I'll hang up into the bass. Okay, it's back on talk, and into the bass it goes.
End of messages.
Those messages weren't bad. There was a lot of background noise in the speakerphone message, and I think that's just because this is a noisy room. But I do believe that pretty adversely affected the clarity of the pickup. The pickup was pretty loud at like the 1 foot, 2 foot range. Once you got past that, it was a little bit quieter. I think if it wasn't for all the background noise, it would have been clear enough at the 4 foot distance. It might have even been clear enough a fair bit further, but because of all the background noise, which is a function of the room, not the telephone, it seemed to really reduce the clarity of the voice pickup. With that being said, even if it was quiet, I don't think the pickup was super clear or super sensitive. I think the 1580, for example, picks up a lot better, at a fraction of the price. So I would say the pickup is fairly average, which for a higher end model I think is very disappointing. And this may be where we start to see the downfall of Panasonic. The audio quality is just not what it used to be. I guess in this case you paid more for all the features that were put into there, perhaps a little bit more for the DECT 6 Plus branding and the additional range, which, while it is more, it's not like landslides more range. It's not like twice the range or anything crazy like that. I think they advertise it as like 20% more, which if you're talking a couple hundred feet, 20% isn't all that much, but it's something. And in this case, in the yard here, it was enough to make it a fair bit more useful in different places than the regular DECT 6 was. So anyways, that's it for this video. The Panasonic 4031, I think this is, because, well, I think it would have originally come with 3 handsets. The 4033, and then the one that shipped with the range extender was the 4053, but this is the 4031, and we'll get this cleaned up in a future video.